We're going to do another part of Aza was kind of the Aza history thing, but no. One specific video that blew up, which was the What If Pokemon Were Endangered Part 2. So with that, we'll be doing a Part 3. So we'll be starting with Executor. Executor and Execute are two Pokemon that some people don't like, but okay, yeah, what do we do? Game data. Okay. The thing is, the Pokemon is only found as Fire Zone, but it's much more common in Generation 2. Likely the Pokemon was introduced to various areas of Johto, however, it's only found in Safari Zone Gen 1. But likely, the Pokemon is not even native to either of those regions. It's likely native to Sun and Moon. Considering the Pokemon is pretty common in several areas, including Executor Island, and however, an Ultra Sun and Moon would say, I think, take place after Sun and Moon, the range has been reduced. So I would consider them endangered in Aloha, which is their native range. Next is Marowak. Actually, it's not called. It's not actually not spelled that way. Okay. So we'll be using the range of Cubone, and yeah, how common is Cubone in the games? And Cubone is only found in Pokemon Tower. Well, and in Rock Tunnel in Generation 2. There isn't really much areas where it's common. Min. Let's see. In Aloha, it's found in Railroad Volcano Park. Let's see if Marowak has any common in any regions. It is found in Victory Road and Cerulean Cave, Routes 9 and 10, and Rock Tunnel. And it is found in various areas. Yes, but most of it does evolve Cubone. It's also found in the for diet, but stuff like, but it's still pretty well. I'll count Cubone as also endangered. It is not a very common Pokemon for its home range. Next, we have the Hitmons. We'll be classifying, okay, not Hitmons. Because they're all one evolution line, and there is one reason where they're pretty common in. Not in Generation 1, Galar, where they're found in large numbers in various areas of the game. They're not found in a huge bunch of areas. They're found in the rolling fields, and they're found in various areas. But the fact that it's pretty common in Galar, I would put them as least concern. As they're found in large numbers in the Galar region, likely meaning they're native to the Galar region, and likely native to that area. Next is Ricketung. Yeah, I had to pause it, but yeah. Ricketung, the Pokemon that everyone loves to hate. The weird Pokemon that's basically centered around wicking people. It is only found in Route 18 and in Blue in Japan. It's found in Safari Zone. It's found in Route 44. It's not found in a lot of areas. It was much more common in Legends Arceus, which means the Pokemon is likely pretty endangered. It is found in various areas in very small pockets of population, meaning the Pokemon had a much more widespread range and is now much more rarer. I'll be classifying. I don't think Ricketung is critically endangered. It can be found in Route 215, as it can be found in Route 44, and in Route 18 and Cerulean Cave. It is found also in Pawnee Gauntlet as well, and also found in Soothing Wetlands, Boreas Cave. So really, it isn't the rarest Pokemon in the world, but it was much more common as shown in Legends Arceus. Next is Coughing and Wheezing. Coughing and Wheezing are two Pokemon introduced in Generation 1. How common are they? Are they cause for any concern? So the individual games are found Pokemon Mansion, Gold Silver to found Burn Tower, Ruby Sapphire to found Fiery Path, Platinum Stock Mountain, They're mostly found alongside human habitation, but likely the native region for the both Pokemon is in Galar, which are very common. It's seen because they even have their own Galarian form and also found in so many other areas as well. So Coffee and Weezing are not endangered at all. Next is Rhydon, which is the next Pokemon on the list, and its pre-evolution Rhyhorn is only found in the Safari Zone and Victory Road in Gold and Silver. Safari Zone again, Route 227 in Stock Mountain, Route 214, 227, Victory Road in Stock Mountain. Then, and in Sword and Shield is found a huge amount of routes in that game. And Red Arceus, it was found in a few areas in mass outbreaks, but I would put Rhyhorn as near threatened, very similar in Rhydon, similar to modern day rhinos, as they're likely still hunted and posed for the horns. Next, we have a Pokemon that probably is endangered, and that's Chansey. Chansey, of course, is supposed to be a rare Pokemon, but it's very likely the reason why Chansey is rare is because of poaching. So Safari Zone, Cerulean Cave, several routes 219, 210, and Trophy Garden. And it's found in a few areas in Generation 7. It's found in a lot of areas in the Expansion Pass, but found in various areas in Scarlet and Violet in very low numbers. I think the compensation efforts have worked off in various regions, as it still has a pretty large range in various areas, which means the population is probably recovering from game to game, so Chansey will be listed as vulnerable, not endangered. Third. Next is Tangela and Tangrowth, which will be counting both. Yeah, it's basically the entire evolution line we usually count, so game data. Well, there we go. Then game data. So Tangela and Generation 1 is only found Route 21. Generation 2 is found on a few more routes, including Mount Silver. And in Generation 5 is found on Route 14 in Giant Chasm. Likely it's introduced there, and it's not really found in many places. Tangela might be another very rare Pokemon that is likely been been exterminated to near extinction, likely either as a pest or something like that, as they are found in various areas in Resident Arceus in much more common numbers. I'll be listing Tangela as vulnerable, as it is still found in the various areas including Route 14 and Giant Chasm, and it has recovered its range in Honko and Soul Silver with headbutt trees, but other than that, this Pokemon is still pretty rare. Next is Goldeen and Seeking. Well, do we need to explain these Pokemon? They're very common, and they'll be listed as least concern. Next is Staryu and Starmie. Staryu and Starmie are one of the most iconic Pokemon from Generation 1 because Misty used Starmie in the anime. Starmie is mostly found in ocean routes, and they're very common in ocean routes in Generation 1 and 2. As well, likely they're native to that region, and likely they're deep sea Pokemon. So you really don't know much about these Pokemon, so to be rated as data deficient. If you do not know what data deficient is, it's basically Pokemon that don't really have much data about them, but I'll list them as least concern either way because they're pretty common in the lanes. Next is Mr. Mime, and its evolution. And its pre-evolution. So Mr. Mime is one of my least favorite Pokemon. The only way you can get in the original game is trade Abra. It's also found in Route 21 in Gold and Silver. Likely, the Pokemon is probably not native to its region, as its pre-evolution was discovered in Generation 4. And even then, Mr. Mime is only found on 2 routes, but Mime Jr. is found on a few other routes as well. Well, also in Sword and Shield, where its Galarian form is found in a lot of areas as well. And Yeah. Mr. Mime Jr. are probably native towards to two areas. They're probably native to Zodo and probably native to obviously Kalos. And they're only found in the Reflection Cave, which is a pretty fitting area. Because a cave where you put your reflection. I'll put Mr. Mime as vulnerable, but the Gregorian form, which could be a separate subspecies, will be listed as least concern. Next is Cypher and Scizor. Cypher, of course, is a very popular bug-type Pokemon that has always been an uncommon Pokemon. Either because it's pretty fast, so it's very hard to get in a battle. It's only found in Safari Zone and National Park bug catching contest, which the National Park is a protected area, which means the Pokemon can be found in a protected area. Yeah, it's also found in a few routes in Diamond and Pearl, and found in a few places, but it's been much more common in other areas. But there is one reason where it's a bit more common, Generation 9. Because of Generation 9, I'll put the Cypher as vulnerable to extinction as well, as it is pretty common in Galar, and likely that subspecies is way more common in other areas. Next is another one of my least favorite Pokemon, Jinx. Oh yes, the creepiest Pokemon of all time. So Jinx, I think we should also count Smoochum as well. It's found in Cerulean City, Ice Path, and most of the other games it just says evolve Smoochum. But it's found in a few areas, but we'll be also counting, does Smoochum have any range, which likely Jinx probably overlaps with, and no, not really much. Jinx is actually a pretty endangered Pokemon, all things considering. It's only found in a few areas, alongside with pre-evolution, so I'll actually be classing Jinx as critically endangered, as it's only found in a few small areas, in a few isolated places, which makes the Pokemon very rare. Next is a Pokemon that's probably much more common, is Electabuzz. Electabuzz is another very popular Pokemon in Generation 1. It's one of the most popular electric types in Generation 1. It's only found in the Power Plant in Generation 1, Generation 2, 10. Diamond Pearl, you have to evolve Elekid. It's found in Road 222, and it isn't found in many areas. As well, it was much more common in Residence Arceus, but Electabuzz and Elekid are still extremely rare. Kind of like with Jinx, this Pokemon probably is very endangered, as it's only found in Power Plant and Route 10, and Route 222, and Pokemon Platinum. It isn't really found in many areas besides Route 12, which was probably introduced there by humans. Bust Mountain, probably introduced by humans as well. And yeah, also it's found in the expansion pass of Sword Shield, probably just introduced by humans. It's probably not even native there again. So Electabuzz probably in its native range will be listed as critically endangered. Another critically endangered Pokemon. Now we're going over another Pokemon, Magmar. Magmar is another great Dex Pokemon. And is it common or is it rare? So it's found in Pokemon Mansion, Bone Tower, Mount Ember, which is in Reef Green, Fugo Ironworks, which is a pretty secluded place, and Pokemon Scarlet Flower is found in the hidden treasures of Area Zero and Expansion Pass. We'll not really be counting that, so Magmar is also critically endangered. So basically, this entire trio of Pokemon are critically endangered, and it is pretty good they introduce these Pokemon in the DLC areas to prevent their extinction. Next is Pinsir. It's another pretty ignored Pokemon. And we'll be seeing is Pinsir getting close to extinction. So, anyway, also Magmar is usually rare in its areas too. So yeah, it's found in Safari Zone, National Park, and it's found in Route 229, Route 12, Washthorn Forest. And also Sun Blue is found in various areas as well. I'll be counting Pinsir as the same exact classification as Cypher. Now it's Tauros. Well, Tauros is a very interesting Pokemon. Tauros is likely a domesticated Pokemon, as it's based off a real life bull. So, heck, the Galar forums even consider it a. So, likely, Tauros is actually a feral Pokemon. So, we'll be counting this Pokemon as feral. We could also count Growlithe and Arcanine as feral as well, considering it's based off a dog. But yeah, and same thing of Meowth as well. But but now we'll be just counting the wild versions, and they're found in a lot of areas in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet with their breeds and different forms, but they're mostly found around farms and stuff. So likely the older population, there likely there is an extinct population, but there's mostly just feral Pokemon. Gyarados, do I have to explain this one? Please concern. Magikarp is one of the most common Pokemon to be found in any body of water. Next is Lapras. Lapras is said to have been hunted to near extinction many times, only being found in a handful of areas. Yes. So likely the Pokemon is found in the various areas, but they are still probably very rare. The most common area it is found is Galar, and will be, I think, conservation efforts have been pretty successful for Lapras, especially in Galar, where they're found in a wide amount of areas. Next is Ditto. Ditto, if we go by the theory that Ditto is a failed clone of Mew, well, it isn't really a real. But since Ditto was created and is found in routes 13, 14, 15, and 23 in Cerulean Cave and Rock Tunnel in Japan, routes 44 and 45, and it's found in the Trophy Garden and various areas. Ditto is probably a very rare Pokemon, but it was likely created by humans. So, we'll be classifying Ditto as data deficient as it's a human-made Pokemon. Another Pokemon will be classifying as this is Porygon, and it'll be not evaluated because it's a human-made Pokemon. It's technically an invasive species. Same thing with the fossils. They will be considered not evaluated as these Pokemon who are resurrected from extinction. Next is Eevee. I think Eevee is another case of Pokemon being domesticated, and is commonly kept as a pet. We could also use the case for Growlithe as well. And we can also use a case for Meowth and Persian and even Pikachu as well. But I think the best Pokemon that is probably domesticated is Eevee. Considering it has so many separate evolutions, they were probably created by Pokemon trainers as selective breeding. So basically, hey, if I want an electric type Eevee, it will evolve into an electric type. There's so many evolutions of Eevee. And because of its unstable genetic makeup, probably created by humans, it probably is a very, very. It's probably a domesticated Pokemon, and also the wild variants of Eevee are not very common, as well. But Eevee is usually found around human settlements, which means most of the Eevees that are probably found are probably feral Eevees. So we'll be counting Eevee as feral. Next is the last two Pokemon we'll be talking about. Snorlax. Snorlax is a very interesting Pokemon. Snorlax didn't even get pre-evolution until Generation 4, and it's found very common in honey trees. Even though they had that awful mechanic in Generation 4, why did they do the awful Munchlax trees mechanic? You only get 2 in Generation 1 and 2, or only 1. But Munchlax is pretty common in Generation 4, and also it's pretty common in Suicune Sword and Shield, alongside its pre-evolution as well. It's still pretty common in Johto, and I'll put it as near threatened because of that awful Munchlax tree mechanic. And now we're counting what could be another pretty endangered Pokemon, is Dragonite. So pseudo legendaries, of course, are supposed to be rare. They're not gonna be common Pokemon, obviously, but it is found in Safari Zone with a super wild Dragon's Den, likely native to that area. And it's found in a few areas in Zoto with the super wild and good wild. In various areas, it's still pretty rare because it's a pseudo legendary. They're not gonna make a pseudo legendary a common Pokemon. I would risk Dragonite as vulnerable, as it is found in the vast areas as well, and also in Pokemon Mystery Dungeon is found in various ocean dungeons as well, meaning that there's probably populations in oceans as well. Likely, Dragonite is a very well Pokemon to see because its pre-evolutions mostly live probably in the deep sea. I would classify Dragonite as vulnerable as it's still a Pokemon that's probably fished pretty often, just simply so people can have a Dragonite. And that is it for the Pokemon list. So what we're going to do, I was surprised to consider endangered. And yeah. Very bad news for Jinx, Electabuzz, and Magmar fans. You're literally, catching a Pokemon to its extinction. But hey, at least those, because unless the Pokemon trainer breeds Pokemon, it is pretty hard to find, some of these Pokemon. So yeah, the fossils and we decided to now count like Pokemon like Tauros and Eevee as feral, as Eevees are often kept as trainers as pets. So likely Eevees are domesticated Pokemon. It is found in the wild. It was probably found very common in the wild, but again, most common Eevee populations now are mostly feral populations as well. As yeah, that is it about this video here. So what do you think? We have done Generation 1. Now it's time to move on to Generation 2, but we're ending this video because we wanted to end Generation 1. Generation 2 will probably be much shorter as there isn't a lot of unique Pokemon in Generation 2. So yeah, we'll not be counting evolutions in Generation 1 Pokemon as we already did those Pokemon. And that's about this video here. Goodbye.